Guys, we are live. Welcome to the channel. If you are on YouTube, thank you for joining. If you're new to the channel, welcome on Facebook. Drop where you're joining from in the comments. Guys, I don't know where you're going to find content like this in a way that's broken down to you what's actually happening on the ground level of the market, and then to back that by stats and market trends and articulate it in a way that you guys can understand what's actually happening in the real estate market so you can make smart decisions. And so because of that, guys, I just encourage you, if you're on the YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe, because when and if you are going to sell, buy, or invest here in Colorado, you're going to want to know this stuff. And those of you on Facebook, you're likely a friend. If not, definitely throw a friend request. We want to have you on these. We are going to dive in, guys, today. I'm not sharing charts. We're not going over a market update. The reason for that is I want to just have a conversation with you and share no fluff, what's actually happening on the ground level of the real estate market, what I'm seeing day to day. So you guys can have an understanding of, like, okay, you see a headline here, you hear this from your coworker, you hear this from a friend, you see this from like, I'm a real estate agent here, been licensed in Colorado for 10 plus years. Here's what's actually happening in the real estate market. Ground level, boots on the ground, guys. These are the conversations I'm having daily. And so with all that, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about what buyers and sellers are really doing. We're going to talk about why waiting might not be the best and how to navigate the emotional roller coaster of what could be this market. And last but not least, we're going to go into just honest advice for you buyers and sellers. So first and foremost, what are buyers and sellers doing in this market? Sellers, we're going to start with you guys. And what I'm seeing in today's market, guys, it's just slow. And a lot of times it's slower than a lot of sellers might anticipate, especially if you've been in the market or purchased when it was 2020, 2021. The market was absolutely bananas. You were used to 10 offers in a weekend. And now we're in a market where you can expect, 2 to 3 showings a week. And that's a good week. And, for sellers coming from a completely different market, that can feel like failure. It can feel really slow. It can feel overwhelming and daunting and almost kind of hopeless that you might not end up selling your home. And then there's the conversation of selling it at the price you want. So that's what we're seeing, guys. It's just a different market. And if you're not educated on what the market is, a lot of times it leads to frustration, longer days on market because we didn't properly prepare to begin with. And then, gosh, you'll see expired listings because proper expectations weren't set up front. You get these frustrated sellers that are not selling, are not being told why properly. And it's guys, sometimes it's not even the agent's fault. They just don't know how to read the market. And guys, the market's hard. The market's just hard compared to what it was, gosh, even a year and a half to 2 to 3, 4 years ago. It's a completely different market. And so for sellers, what we're seeing, it's just taking longer to sell homes. I'll get into some advice for you sellers here shortly, but that's what we're seeing. And what's a complete mind beep is that then you have some homes in some areas, in some neighborhoods, that get multiple offers and go for over asking in a weekend. And so you hear that result and then compare that to homes that are sitting on the market for 60 days and they're actually priced right and they're actually in really good condition. And it's just the market we find ourselves in. And so, gosh, now it's so much more important than it ever has been to do a couple of things that I'm going to share at the end of this video when I go into some advice. As far as buyers and what we're seeing on the ground level, there's a lot more options. There's just a higher level of inventory in today's market here in Denver, Colorado. And when I say Denver, Colorado, I'm saying the Denver metro area, the 7-county area that makes up Denver metro. And all of my insights, we're going from Highlands Ranch to Littleton to Parker, all the way up to Brighton and Thornton and Erie. Like, the real estate is hyper local, and it could depend on your street, your specific house, your neighborhood, your city. But in general, I'm wrapping my hands around, in general, what's happening in all of these markets. If we want to get more detailed, throw a comment in the chat and I'll be happy to answer any specific questions. Or again, subscribe to the channel because we do other types of market updates that might be specific to a specific area you're into. And we'll definitely take our community and audience's feedback as to what video to do next. But for buyers, guys, there's just more inventory. There's more options for you. And because of that, they're taking longer to make a decision. And with that longer decision, once they make it, they're a little bit more picky in inspection objections. And so we've seen more of a fallout of homes going under contract because of inspection than we have in previous markets, because it's just the nature of it. And so, with buyers, there's more options. With interest rates being high, there's more hesitancy, the uncertainty in the economy. And so with that, the whole experience the sellers are having, it is due to all these different things that a buyer is going through in today's market. Rates are higher, homes are less affordable, so they need to go through options. They need to look at numbers. They're a little bit slower to make decisions because of all of these things going on. So that's what I'm seeing. Now, again, I'm going to get into just some insights for you buyers and for you sellers here shortly. Before we do that, why it might not be a smart time to wait. I think this more so goes to, I think this lends more to sellers than it does to buyers. But sellers, the reason why not to wait is because, and quite frankly, it might be too late, quote unquote, because the hottest time of the year to sell a home and maximize your purchase price is going to be today, now. Anytime between February to about late April, early May, that's the spring selling market. That's when you see the greatest amount of appreciation and the greatest amount of buyer activity. After about that end of April, early May, you start to see the market kind of plateau May to June, and kind of start its descent at that point in time as well, to where it's kind of this roller coaster of the market gets really, 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 really hot, and then it kind of plateaus, and then it goes down, down, down all the way to December, when it's the slowest time of year for sellers. So why waiting might not be the best strategy for you sellers. That's why. And because we're in a market where I'm seeing more inventory than we have in a long time, even though buyer demand is really, really high, in relation to having 30,000 showings last week, which was like the activity, the same activity we saw in 2020, 2021, inventory being as high as it is has me concerned about what pricing is going to do towards the end of the year. And so I think as a seller, the best time to sell this year was yesterday. And I will likely say that every day going forward until December, right? It's December, November, October. And then I might say, hey, maybe we wait till January, February. But for those of you that don't align, your timeline doesn't align with the market timeline, I got something else for you. We'll get into that in a sec. Buyers, why not? Why waiting might not be this best strategy? You got a lot of leverage in this market. I think there's definitely some arguments to be made of why maybe not waiting would be the best strategy. But I think there's equally arguments of why waiting would be the best strategy. And so ultimately, I always preface with, as long as you find the right house at the right monthly payment that you love and you plan to be there for a fairly long period of time, market timing matters, but not really. It doesn't matter more than that. And then before we get into advice, the last thing is how to navigate emotions. This market comes with emotional roller coasters. It's just the nature of the market that it's hard for sellers. Buyers, you have more options than you have previously, but even with those options, it's more unaffordable than it used to be. And so navigating emotions for sellers, guys, I think of it like this. I come from the restaurant industry, right? And I pride myself on just running a world-class business where I provide a world-class service for my clients. And so with that, I think about the real estate industry. It's like, if you walk into a restaurant and they say, hey, it's going to be 30 minutes and it's an hour wait, that sucks. But if they're like, hey, it's 30 minutes and it's 15, okay, that's a great experience. And so when it comes time to navigating emotions, I think a lot of it just has to do with setting expectations. And then instead of getting emotionally attached to the reality the truth of what the market's doing. You just look at it more objectively. Like it's not that it's a bad market. It's just it just is what it is. And when we start to have more of a objective outlook on the market, it really helps, in addition to proper expectations, be able to navigate this market and be like, yeah, you know what? It's slow. It's 2 weeks. We've only had a couple showings, no offers. It's all good. We knew this was going to happen. That's how you navigate the emotional roller coaster. And then as far as a buyer, just get with a great team, like get with a great lender, get with a great realtor. And again, they're going to set the proper expectations. They're going to guide you through this. And I'm going to, like I tell my buyers, hey, look, here's your situation. Here's what I know about your situation. And here's what you can expect. In that way, if we get into a situation that for a lot of buyers might be emotionally, hard or take a toll emotionally, my buyers are just a little bit more emotionally sound and grounded in the process because we've already talked about what to expect. I've let them know the wait's going to be 30 minutes, right? And with that, it really helps to ease your way into this market and have a much less stressful process altogether. And now here's the moment you guys have all been waiting for. At least I would want to know this is, gosh, with what I'm seeing in the market today, right now, what advice do I have? Sellers, it's simple. Not easy, but simple. It's more important now than it ever has been to properly prepare your house. Like, now's not the time to skip corners and, do the clean, but not the deep clean. Like, we need to do the deep clean. We need to declutter more than you think you need to declutter. Like, I'm as you can see, I'm almost struggling to find the words to express the importance of preparing your home, because you're in a market where there's all of these other homes for buyers to look for. So how are we going to stand out? We're going to stand out by being the best, most well-prepared property in a 10-mile radius. And then from there, that's step one. And there's other things, right? Like staging. And I actually last week made a decision. It's a non-negotiable. All of my clients now are getting a staging consultation. It used to be something I always offered, but gosh, just seeing how important market preparation is for your house or property preparation is for the market. I just think it's a mandatory, like whether you stage or not, to have a professional stager come in and say, here's how to get the house ready, whether you stage or not, is absolutely a must have in this market if you want to drive a result as a seller. And so that's number one. Number two is pricing accurately relative to the condition of your house. If you just do those two things, you're going to do really, really well in this market. It might still be slow. It might take some time to sell your house. You might even still have to do a pricing reduction, but please know you are going to experience way better results than anyone else. And pricing accurately, that takes a high-level professional, guys. It really, really does, because there's this delicate balance between, are we pricing too high or too low? And like, how do we make sure we don't do that? But at the same time, when we go to market, when do you reduce the price? You don't want to do that too fast. You also don't want to do that too slow. So there's a lot to it, but the reality is this market generally isn't one to push price. Okay. Like, whether you have a great professional or not, price competitively, price to sell, and you're likely going to have much better results than anyone else in this market. Guys, I can't tell you how many times I see people not properly prepare the property. They price too high, and they fall down a slippery slope of price reductions. And so it's super, super important. Sellers, that's my advice. Get on the market before October or December. I don't think that's going to be a favorable market at all. It wasn't last December. It wasn't the December before that. And this December, I think, will be even worse. As far as buyers go, I think the best advice I could give any buyer in this market is get in the game. Get in the game. Look, I get interest rates are high. I understand that. But don't let that stop you from seeing if it's going to make sense for you. Because a lot of times, There's different ways in which we can maneuver rates and with buy downs and new build incentives, etc., to make your dream come true at a payment that makes sense for you. Just because rates are 7% does not mean those buyers in this market are locking in at 7%. I have some builders that are at 3.5% right now. And so there's always options for you if you're really interested in actually like figuring out, does it make sense to sell and buy the new home now? Or does it make sense to relocate to Colorado and buy something? Like reach out, get in the game, figure out what that actually looks like, and then make a decision. And I think you need somewhere safe to go that you don't feel obligated, right? You don't want to get the cold caller or, online lead realtor that's going to like pester you to death every single day until you buy something or tell them to go F off. Like, no, you need somebody that's willing to walk that path with you up to the point to see if it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, like not make you feel like shit because you didn't move forward. Does that make sense? So get with a realtor, get with a lender and a team that's going to be able to help walk you and guide you through the process of, hey, does this actually make sense for us to make a move? And do it without you guys feeling obligated in like you're letting them down when you say no. Guys, like the market's tough for sellers and buyers. And, sometimes you need somebody on your team to say, hey, look, I know you might not do this because numbers have to work and the scenario has to work, etc. But let's at least get to a point where we can identify and look at all the numbers and all the scenario to see if it actually makes sense for you. And then from there, if it does, awesome, let's run. If it doesn't, it's all good. Other just general insights for buyers. Guys, now and any time between now and December, you're likely going to have some good negotiating opportunities. You're going to find some good deals on the market. Anything that's been on the market more than 30, 60, 90 days, those are prime for the picking typically. And your ability to negotiate almost all homes. In most scenarios, you'll likely be able to get a concession in the seller to buy down your rate. And so you've got a lot of leverage in today's market. And that's why I think it's important to watch these videos so that you know that, so that you can have that conversation with your realtor, so that you guys can look at a house and say, okay, like, hey, what's our strategy with this offer? Well, look, how long has it been on the market? How many offers have they had? What's the feedback been like? What's the whole scenario around here? And then to collaborate with your great lending partner on, hey, how can we get the numbers to work best in our favor? And then from there, put an offer together based on market trends, based on high level consultation and collaboration with your team to ultimately put you in the best position possible. That's the magic, guys. And so with that, guys, any questions for me, please let me know. Thank you for joining. Again, I am a licensed realtor here in Colorado. As much as I love making videos, I'd love nothing more to actually serve you guys. So please reach out. If you're struggling selling your home or you're thinking of selling and buying, maybe you're coming from out of state, you're selling a home and you're relocating and buying something here. I am a native. I know the areas like the back of my hand, as long as you're in the greater Denver metro area, all the way from Evergreen to Highlands Ranch and Littleton down south, all the way up to Erie and Frederick and Tacona, along up north. Like I know the areas super, super, super well, whether you're going new build, existing neighborhoods, and depending on lifestyle, you want to be closer to mountains, you want to be closer to lakes, like have an active lifestyle. Do you want something that's like, I've got you covered. My number is 303-332-1108. Would love nothing more to serve you. Again, remember to subscribe to the channel so that you guys can get up-to-date real estate info and insights. I have a video coming out every single Wednesday